Good day, year 12s. Mrs. George here. I'm on page 51 today, and I'm just going to read the stage directions first. Enter Talthybius and guards with Astyanax's body carried in Hector's battle shield. So Talthybius, the Greek messenger, is arriving back onto the stage with his guards, and his guards has got actually Astyanax's body, and it's lifeless. It is a dead body carried in Hector's battle shield, and the dead body of the boy Astyanax is actually carried in Hector's shield, battle shield. You know that shield is actually it's like a defensive object, especially in war. So here, the guards are bringing the body of the child Astyanax on Hector's battle shield. Talthybius, Hecuba, there is only one ship of Neoptolemus's squadron still here. The crew are currently loading his share of the booty before sailing for Phthia. Neoptolemus himself has already set sail, having heard bad news from home. His grandfather Peleus apparently has been the victim of a military coup, organized by Exatus, the son of Peleus, and has had to flee the country. Time is of the essence, so he left at once, taking Andromache with him, whose heartbroken tears as she left her native land, and grief-stricken outbursts over the tomb of Hector brought tears to my eyes too. So here, Talthybius is coming back, as I told you, with the child's body, with Astyanax's body. And Talthybius makes it clear that, and he says to Hecuba that there is only one ship of Neoptolemus' squadron still here. It's just one ship here. The crew are currently loading his share of the booty. So the crew are actually loading his share of the booty. Booty means all the goods or money obtained illegally. And they are considering even the lady Andromache as a booty, as an object. So they are currently loading his share of the booty before sailing for Phthia. And now Talthybius is explaining why he is going in a hurry. Neoptolemus, who is the captor of Andromache, Neoptolemus himself has already set sail, having heard bad news from his home. So Neoptolemus has already gone home, sailed back home, having heard bad news from his own home, because his grandfather Peleus apparently has been the victim of a military coup organized by Exatus, the son of Peleus, and he has had to flee the country. So Neoptolemus has already gone. Time is of the essence, so he left at once. So Talthybius is making it clear that time is really important, and he stresses that point because later on he is rushing. We know that, or we could see later on, Talthybius asking the Hecuba to hurry up. So that particular line is really important. Time is of the essence. So he's just saying it out right at the very beginning. Time is of the essence. So he left at once. So since time is really important, he left at once when he heard the news about his grandfather. Taking Andromache with him. So Andromache has already gone with him, whose heartbroken tears as she left her native land. So there was heartbroken tears as she left her own native land when she left Troy. There was I could see the heartbroken tears and grief-stricken outbursts over the tomb of Hector. There was actually grief-stricken outburst over the tomb of Hector, her own husband, brought tears to my eyes too. So all those grief-stricken outbursts and heartbroken tears, and Talthybius says that actually brought tears to my eyes too. So what particular view are you getting out of Talthybius here? You have to think Talthybius exhibits some kind of tenderness and concern or sympathy towards Andromache, especially when he says that heartbroken tears as well as grief-stricken outbursts actually brought tears to my eyes too. So we could see the sympathetic soft side of Talthybius, the Greek messenger. So Talthybius is exhibiting some kind of tenderness and concern to all the women of Troy, and especially at this moment, even to Andromache's tears. She begged the prince that you should be allowed to bury the body. Now, Talthybius makes it clear that Andromache begged the prince that Hecuba should be allowed to bury the body, the son of your own son, Hector, who gave up his life as ordered, thrown down from the walls of Troy. So, as ordered, Astyanax was thrown down from the walls of the Troy, And Andromache has actually begged to the prince to allow the child's grandmother Hecuba to do the burial rites. She also begged one more thing. Andromache also begged one more thing. She begged too that this shield with its bronze back, as I told you, the child is brought on that battle shield. And now Talthybius says that she begged too that this shield with its bronze back, which has terrified the Greeks so many times in the hands of the boy's father. So this battle shield has actually terrified many Greeks so many times because he used the battle shield as a defensive. It was like a defensive object. So this shield with its bronze back has terrified. This particular shield has terrified so many Greeks so many times in the hands of the boy's father. When he advanced, protecting the whole of his body behind it, should not be sent across the sea to Peleus's house, nor stand as a mute reminder in the same chamber where the boy's mother, Andromache, to her grief, must give herself a second time as a bride. So here Talthybius makes it clear that Andromache actually begged the prince to let the shield taken back to Hecuba with the child, and because she doesn't want that to go with her, to accompany her to her new bride's place second time, while she is actually taking while she is accepting herself as a second bride. She doesn't want this particular shield there as a reminder, so she wanted this particular shield to go with the baby, but be used instead of a coffin and cane of stones. So Andromache wanted to use the shield of Hector as actually a coffin for the baby, and a cane of stones, and that the boy should be buried lying beneath it. And the boy could be buried lying beneath it. She asked me to make sure that the body came into your hands so that you could shroud it with some of your own clothes. Andromache also made sure that, or begged Talthybius that the body of the baby should go into Hecuba's hands, because Hecuba could actually bury the child with some of her own old clothes and garland it with flowers, in so far as you can in your present difficult circumstances. I know you are in a terrible circumstance, but still, whatever you can do, this is the least thing that you can do. You can maybe cover the baby with some old clothes and even garland it with flowers. So, in so far as you can in your present difficult circumstance, um, Andromache wanted um, Talthybius to give this child to Hecuba. She, because of her master's great haste, is robbed of the opportunity of burying her child herself and is already gone. So Andromache, as her master, who is her master? Neoptolemus. Andromache, as her master's great haste, Neoptolemus's great haste, and I told you why he was hurrying, because of his grandfather's news. So she is robbed of the opportunity of burying her child herself. So she didn't get the opportunity to bury her own child, and as a result she is gone. Let me emphasize, as soon as you have laid out the body, buried him, and heaped up the earth on his grave, must step the mast, make sail, and away. So immediately after you bury the child and you heap up the earth onto his grave, immediately you must make sail and away. So you must go. So you must do what you have to do as quickly as possible. I told you before, Talthybius talks about, or he gives a hint about the importance of time, and now he says that you have to do this as quickly as possible. And look at the repetition of the word must. It's like Talthybius is ordering the queen, who was the queen of Troy. You must step the mast, make sail, and away. So you must do what you have to as quickly as possible. One thing I have done for you. And finally, Talthybius makes it clear that I've done one thing for you. I took the opportunity to wash the body and wipe away the dirt and blood from his wounds. I've done one thing for you. On my way back, I washed the body of the child and wiped away all the dirt and the blood from his wounds. Well then, I shall now make it my business to dig a grave for the boy. I'm even planning to dig a grave for the boy, so that my work will end as quickly as yours must. Again, he is giving that importance to the word quickly. It's the second time Talthebes is repeating the word quickly. So he might be digging the grave for the boy to hasten up, to hurry up the whole thing, the whole scenario, so that my work will end as quickly as yours must, and then with the greatest possible expedition, we can all go home. So we could interpret that Alcibiades' aim is to finish off his duty and he wanted to go back home. We don't know whether he's doing all this for being as if he's really sympathetic, or we don't know whether he is hurrying because he wants to go home. So you can interpret it in different ways. It's up to you to interpret. Sorry, I forgot to mention that this is episode 5. So, because a new character, Talthebes, is coming back, so this is episode 5. So, here, Talthebes is actually ordering Hecuba about the importance of time and what are the duties that she should do. And when you think about Hector's shield, that is actually a use of, it's actually symbolic. It's symbolic of, we know that shield is actually a symbol of masculinity as well as power, masculine power, because that's what they are using in war. So the shield has, in a way, even though it is powerful, in a way, in this context, the shield has actually failed to protect the boy as well as his father, and will now be burned with the bodies of the Trojan people, especially with the body of the boy. So this particular shield has actually failed to protect the boy as well as his father. So it's the contrasting idea. So even though it is powerful, even though we know that battle shield is a symbol of power, here it actually shows the powerlessness. So therefore the shield of Hector, which actually protected him through many battles, Talthebes is saying that this particular shield, which protected many people, protected him from many people, many battles, that was not only powerless at the moment to protect him from the inevitable death, but even his own son and family. So this particular shield was powerless to protect him from the battlefield, as well as this particular shield was unable to protect his own child and even the family members from this terrible tragedy. So it symbolizes actually that particular Hector's shield, that particular symbolism, that actually symbolizes the dying line of the Trojan royal family. The Trojan family, royal family is dying, that line is no more. So it symbolizes the dying. That's why it's being getting buried. That's why Hector's shield is getting buried together with the boy, Astyanax's body. So that actually symbolizes the dying line of the Trojan royal family, and that actually punctuates the tragedy of Euripid's play. So death is happening there, or the end of a line, a royal family line, the end of a royal family line is actually happening there. So thereby Euripides is actually showing the senselessness and hopelessness of war, the cost of war. So shield represents the power of all Trojan warriors, but in this play, it has come to nothing. Usually the shield is actually representing the power of all the Trojan, especially here, Trojan warriors, but in this case, at this moment, in this play, it has come to nothing. Shield didn't help. The shield, the bronze shield, didn't help himself, neither his own family. So the dead boy and the captured shield suggest that. So it's Talthebes is actually bringing Astyanax's body together with the Hector's shield. So that the dead body as well as the captured Hector's shield, that actually suggests that the father and the son actually are united now, both in death as well as in defeat. They're both united. They are united in their death. Hector as well as Astyanax, they are united in their death. Same way they are united even in their defeat. Both of them were actually defeated. So you could interpret it in different ways. You could write as you wish, and you could say that the death of the death of the boy as well as the death of the death of Hector is actually showing, or that bringing together of that body as well as shield is actually showing the unity, or the moment when the father and the son was actually united, not only in death but even united even in their defeat. So you could interpret it that way. And here, Talthybius also is letting Hecuba to perform the funeral rites for her grandson as per Andromache's wish. So that will actually allow Astyanax to pass peacefully into the afterlife. As I told you, for the people, Trojans especially, for them, afterlife and the proper burial is actually essential for their afterlife, because they could give more importance to all this. So when Talthebis is actually allowing Hecuba to perform the funeral rites, the burial rites of her grandson, Talthebis is actually allowing Astyanax to pass peacefully into the afterlife. So don't forget about that particular importance of that burial rite as well. So coming back again to Hector's shield, one more point. Hector's shield was, as I told you before, it was actually a symbol of masculine power, but that has been tragically converted. That particular masculine power has been tragically converted into just a casket, underscoring the brutal human cost of war. So Euripides actually wanted to underscore the brutal human cost of war through that particular symbolism. Okay, so keep that in mind. Again, next page, page 52. As I told you, the importance of ritual that actually transcends the divide between Trojans and the Greeks. So it unites both Talthybius, when Talthybius is letting Hecuba to do the burial rites for her own grandson. Both Talthybius as well as Hecuba is actually united in an obligation not to their relative notions, but to the duties and respects paid to the dead. Both of them are united in their understanding, in their understanding of the importance of paying respect to the dead people. And that might be the reason why Talthybis is letting Hecuba to do that important burial rite for her own grandson. So on page 52, as I told you again, Talthybis is stressing on the importance of time, and the reason why he is rushing. I took the opportunity to wash the body. Anyway, here, Talthybis' action can equally be considered as an attempt. We don't know whether he is doing all this because of his concern or sympathy for the Trojan women, or whether he is doing to speed up the burial process so that he can go back to his home as soon as possible. So the intention of Talthybius in helping all this is actually a bit doubtful. We don't know whether he's doing with the right intention to support Hecuba and feeling that kind of empathy towards Hecuba, or whether he's actually doing all this for his own selfish motive to go home soon. So we don't know. You could interpret it different ways. So I took the opportunity to wash the body and wipe away the dirt and blood from his wounds again. There is a little bit of contradiction happening there. The contradiction that I was about to mention is because in ancient Greece, as I told you before, in ancient Greece, the failure to correctly perform a burial rite was actually considered as an insult to the deceased people. Deceased in the sense dead people. Okay, so if we are not giving a proper burial rite, that was actually considered as an insult to that person, to that dead person. So burial rites were during that time, especially in Greece, were conducted mainly by relatives, primarily women. Burial rites were done mainly by relatives and especially by women. So here, in trying to hasten up the whole situation, in trying to expedite Astyanax's burial by washing his body and cleaning up his wound, rather than allowing Hecuba to do so, Talthybius is actually committing an affront to the dignity of the deceased child's spirit. What do you mean by an affront? Talthybius is actually deliberately doing an offensive act by he himself washing the body and cleaning, which was actually to be done by women, especially Hecuba in this case. But Talthybius is not letting Hecuba to do that. Instead, he has done that already. So that might be interpreted as an affront to the dignity of the deceased child's spirit. So you could interpret in different way. You could say that Talthybius might have done this to help out Hecuba, but the further lines actually gives us a clear indication that Talthybius' intention was not actually to help or sympathize with Hecuba, but it was to hasten up his own process because he wanted to go home soon. So by washing the child's body, he might have actually offended the child spirit. So that's another interpretation. Anyway, it's up to you. It's up to you to interpret in different ways that you want. Back on page 52, now we could see the lament, especially Hecuba's final lament. And Hecuba's final lament is actually directed at several audience. At first, she is attacking the Greek people, and then she's talking to the child. So the final lament is actually directed at several audiences. Hecuba, oh, the great arc of Hector's shield! Here, put it on the ground. My eyes are stabbed to the brain. I never dreamed they would see such a sight. I never dreamed that my eyes would see or dream. I never dreamed that my eyes would see such a terrible sight of my own grandson's body. Oh, you Greeks, you are so proud of yourselves as fighting men and thinkers. Are you proud of these two? Are you proud of this particular action of killing an innocent child? Why him? Why this baby? That's what Hecuba is questioning. Why him? Were you so frightened of a child you have to invent this unheard of savagery? Were you so cowardice kind of people? Were you so frightened to kill such a child, to invent such kind of an unheard of a savagery? No one has heard this kind of an evil thing, killing or dropping the baby from the walls of Troy and killing the child, and that to an innocent child. Were you so frightened of a child you had to invent this unheard of savagery? Did you think he would rebuild fallen Troy from this rubble on his own? Did you even think that this particular child will actually rebuild this ruined city of Troy? So many question marks. You are nothing. You are worth nothing. We could all see that when Hector was riding his good fortune with 10,000 men fighting his side, destroying you beneath his spear. But now, when the city is taken and every Trojan fighting man lies dead, you have become terrified of a little child. The Hecuba is being a bit sarcastic here and questioning the Greeks, attacking the Greeks. Were you so frightened of this particular child? But now, when the city is taken and every Trojan fighting man lies dead, you have become terrified of a little child. What cowards you are! So, attacking the Greeks and asking what cowards you are, how I despise blind panic, unreasoning terror in rational men. You Greeks were considered as rational men or rational men. But how could he do such kind of an unreasonable terror? So here, as I told you, Hecuba's lament is at first she is attacking the Greek conquerors and labeling their actions as unheard of savagery, labeling their actions as unheard of savagery. The Greeks are cowards who have allowed blind panic to create unreasoning terror in rational men. This attack actually highlights the incomprehensible nature of war. So through this attack, Euripides is actually trying to highlight the incomprehensible nature of war, the cold logic behind decisions such as the murder of Astyanax is exposed as a is exposed as a descent into heartless savagery. So killing of this innocent child has been considered as a heartless savagery, unheard of a savagery. Euripides forces, through this particular scene, Euripides forces his audiences to examine the consequence of the cold pragmatism that drives atrocities such as those in Melas, as I told you in the background, the attack, the millions, the Trojans attacking millions. So Euripides is actually forcing his audience to examine the consequences of the cold pragmatism that actually drives atrocities such as those in Melas, and to consider the meaning of such barbarous actions for the often wanted in the sense often boasted. Wanted, another word for boasted is wanted. Vaunted. Wanted, boasted, often boasted Athenian values. Athenian values have been always boasted, but this particular barbarous action has wrecked it all. So Euripides is actually making the audience to think about their own fault, what they have done to the people in Melas, and why do you commit such kind of barbarous or barbarian acts? So Euripus is actually making the audience to think about it. And now Hecuba is so one more point. Euripus is actually condemning those leaders who willingly destroy the innocent in order to lessen their petty fears, in order to satisfy their petty fears. They had petty small fears, and even to satisfy, not to lessen their petty fears, they have decided to kill that baby, that too, an innocent baby. So Euripus is actually condemning those leaders who were actually willing to destroy the innocent boy in order to satisfy their own petty fears. Now, Hecuba, my little darling, what a wretched, meaningless death has been meted out to you. If you had died on your feet, defending your city in the full glory of your young manhood, having tasted the pleasures of marriage, one of the god kings of Troy, everyone would have called you a happy man. If any of these things is worth the name of happiness. But though your child's soul may have glimpsed or sensed the glories you were born to, they have slipped you from your grasp before you were old enough to enjoy them. My poor little boy, how dreadfully your head has been shaved by the walls of your own city, built by the prophetic god Apollo for your ancestors. These beautiful curls your mother so much loved to stroke and kiss and bury her face in, torn out, shorn to stubble. The blood is still oozing from the broken bones, laughing at us in its mockery of life. No, no more of that. It degrades the decency of speech to put such things into words. Sweet little hands, the image of your fathers, so limp and lifeless now, mere appendages flopping at the end of your arms, and your lips so delicious in all their childish chattering, and now so cold and dead. What lies you told me when you snuggled down among my bedclothes. Grandmother, you used to say, I shall cut the biggest curl you ever saw from my head for you when you are dead, and I will bring all my friends to your tomb to make speeches and sing songs of farewell. But now that promise will never be kept, and I, an old woman with her city destroyed and all her children dead, must bury you so much younger than I am, such a tender corpse. So before moving into the Hecuba's address of the child, I just want to make one more point about the Greeks killing the child. As a child, he was actually incapable of posing any kind of real threat to the Greek army for decades to come. Still, they actually fear that he would grow into a man later on, and Avaria trumped any rational perception of him as a harmless and defenseless baby here. So they actually worried that he will actually turn, when he is mature enough, he will actually rebuild the city of Troy. That's what they feared, and that's why they have decided to kill the baby. So keep that particular point in mind. Did you think he would rebuild fallen Troy from his rubble on his own? So that might be the reason why they have thought ahead, and they doesn't want Astyanax to come back and rebuild the city of Troy. And that's the reason why they have killed the defenseless and harmless innocent baby Astyanax. So that gives us an indication that for Greeks, all male children actually represent a potential warrior who would threaten their power. Just as the majority of Greek soldiers seem unable to see women as more than objects to be claimed. They are watching, or they are considering women as just as objects to be claimed, and but at that same time they are unable to see men as anything other than threats to be neutralized. So that contrast between men and women, or the gender inequality, is actually very clear, and Euripus might be even trying to emphasize the difference in their perception about male and female at this point as well. Now here Hecuba is addressing the little darling, her own grandson. So Hecuba addresses the body of the murdered child. In a heart-wrenching moment, she even speaks tenderly to the future and the glories, talks about the glories you were born to that have slipped from your grasp. So she actually comments, or her comments about the child actually highlights the pointless tragedy of his death, real pointless tragedy of his death. Through her ministrations, Hecuba is actually forced to confront the facts of her own situation. So let us read through that again. My little darling, what a wretched, meaningless death has been meted out to you. What a meaningless death have you got? If you had died on your feet defending your city, if you were actually died on your feet when you were a man, when you were actually a barrier, and when you actually defended the city, if you have died because of that, in the full glory of your young manhood, having tasted the pleasures of marriage, once you have tasted the pleasures of marriage, one of the god kings of Troy, everyone would have called you a happy man. So if you've died after being a man and after getting married, and when you if you would have died while you were fighting for your own country, then people would have been happy about your situation. But that is not the case with you now. If any of these things is worth the name of happiness, and look at that particular point, there is a dash there. So everyone would have called you a happy man. So what are the points she's trying to say? If you were on your feet, if you have defended your city, if you were in full glory of your manhood, if you have tasted the pleasures of marriage, and one of the god kings of Troy, if you have been one of the god kings of Troy, and then see if these five things would have done, then everyone would have called you a happy man. And then there is a dash. So after a thought, Hecuba is saying, if any of these things is worth the name of happiness. Now she's wondering, are these five things actually worth of any happiness? Because she has actually seen her own son Hector passing through all these five stages. Her son Hector actually was on his feet, defended the city, was had the full glory of young manhood, being a manhood. He did taste the pleasures of marriage, and he was like the one of the god kings of Troy. But still, he is gone now. He has died now. So can we call him a happy man? So he that particular hyphen or a dash is really important, because after listing the five things which would actually make people happy, Hickey was thinking, reflecting, if any of these things is worth the name of happiness. So she now doubts whether these five things are actually worthy of happiness or not. But though your child's soul may have glimpsed or sensed the glories of you were born to, they have slipped from your grasp. But though your child's soul, as a child, your soul may have glimpsed or sensed the glories you were born to, but then all those glories of your life have been actually slipped away from your grasp. There's nothing now. Before you were old enough to enjoy them, everything is gone. Before you were old enough to enjoy the royalties and the power and all the luxuries that you have got, before you were even old enough to enjoy, that's all gone now. My poor little boy, how dreadfully your head has been shaped by the walls of your own city, built by the prophetic god Apollo from your ancestors. Now Hecuba is looking at that poor baby's head, and looking at that head and asking, how dreadfully your head has been shaped by the walls of city of Troy. Built by whom? Built by Apollo, the prophetic god, for ancestors. And look at the imagery, very violent, graphic imagery. We are getting the details of the dead body of Astyanax. So violent imagery, graphic imagery. These beautiful curls your mother so much loved to stroke. Now touching the hairs, these beautiful curls your mother so much loved to stroke and kiss and bury her face in, torn out, shorn to stubble. All has gone. Everything is gone. The beautiful hair is gone. The blood is still oozing from the broken bones. The blood is still oozing from the broken bones. Imagery, as I told you, violent imagery, graphic imagery. Euripides is trying to show that through that graphic imagery, Euripides is actually trying to show the senselessness and hopelessness of war, the brutality of war. And that might be the reason why Euripides wanted to show this in detail, to show this in all the graphic imagery. So the blood is still oozing from the broken bones, laughing at us in its mockery of life, laughing at us in its mockery of life. No, no more of that. It degrades the decency of speech to put such things into words. Now, after describing all this, Hecuba herself says that now Don't do anything. No more of these kinds of description. It degrades the decency of speech to put such things into words. I can't even put such horrible things into words. And that might be an indication of Euripides as well. Euripides is stopping there. He doesn't go into the details later on. He stops about the details of the dead body of his next at that point, and he believes it and he says it out. And Euripides says that no, no more of that. It actually degrades the decency of speech to put such things into words. So it might be Euripides' point of view as well. He actually considered that he doesn't want to degrade himself into such kind of by describing such kind of horrific details. Sweet little hands, the image of your father's so limp and lifeless now. So, sweet little hands, the image of your father's, so limp and lifeless now, mere appendages flopping at the end of your arms. And your lips, so delicious in all their childish chattering, and now so cold and dead. So, after that particular line, it degrades the decency of speech to put such things into words. After that particular line, whatever we see is, it is clear imagery, but it is less violent. It's not as graphic or it's not as violent as the blood oozing from the broken bones. Look at the next description. Sweet little hands, the image of your father's, so limp and lifeless now, mere appendages flopping at the end of your arms. So here too we are getting very clear imagery, but it is at least less violent. So Euripides might have taken that decision to not to do any more descriptions of violent descriptions, but still he is trying to show that vivid imagery. Through that vivid imagery, he is trying to show the hopelessness and senselessness and brutality of war. So delicious in all their, and your lips so delicious in all their childish chattering, and now so cold and dead. You're not talking, you're not chattering now. Your lips are as cold. Your lips are so cold and dead. What lies you told me when you snuggled down among my bedclothes. You did tell me a lot of lies. You did say that grandmother, he used to say, I shall cut the biggest curl you ever saw from my head for you when you are dead. When you are dead, I will cut the biggest curl you ever saw from my head. And I will bring all my friends to your tomb. I will bring all my friends to your tomb. And to make speeches and sing songs for farewell. I'll bring all my friends to sing speeches and farewell to you when you are dying. So Hecuba now remembers all these words spoken by the young boy. You used to say, I shall cut the biggest curl you ever saw from my head for you when you are dead, and I will bring all my friends to your tomb to make speeches and sing songs of farewell. But now that promise will never be kept. That promise will never be kept because you have died ahead of me. You have died before me. And I, an old woman, and now she recognizes her own position. She is no more a queen. She is just an old woman. I, an old woman, with her city destroyed and all her children dead, must bury you. And I, a poor old woman, who has got no position, nothing, no power. My city has been destroyed, my children has been killed, and I, that poor old lady, must bury you, so much younger than I am. And I am here to, I'm an old person here to bury so much, so much younger than, I'm to bury someone who is so much younger than me. Such a tender corpse, such a very tender corpse. My dear little sweetheart, what use were all those cuddles I gave you? The times I nursed you, fed you, and got you off to sleep. All my love wasted when it comes to this, with you dead in my arms. All the love that I have given, all the cuddles that I have given, all the time that I've fed you, got you off to sleep. All that is wasted now. All my love has gone. All my love is wasted. It's nothing. It's for nothing now. What memorial verses would a poet write to be carved on your tombstone? What memorial verse will a poet write to be carved on your tombstone? This child was murdered by the Greeks because they were afraid of him. Are the poets going to write this particular line that the child was murdered by the Greeks because they were afraid of him? Is that what they're going to write on your tombstone? May all Hellas forever be ashamed of such an epitaph if they are writing such an epitaph Epitaph means the inscription on a tombstone. The inscription written on a tombstone is called epitaph. So forever be ashamed of such an epitaph. If some poets are writing such kind of an epitaph, then let they be ashamed of writing such kind of an epitaph. Well, little grandson, everything you should have inherited from your father, you have lost. All that you have to inherit from your father have actually lost, except this shield with its curved bronze back. You have lost all that you were supposed to inherit from your father. You have lost all that. You have just got this bronze ribbed shield, except this shield with its curved bronze back, and that, my dear, you will keep forever as it covers you in the earth, and you will keep this shield forever as it is that which will actually cover you in the earth. And as I told you before, the Father and the Son are uniting, not just in death, even in defeat. Now that is the address towards the child. So finally, addressing Hecubus, addressing the child, talking to the child, and saying to the child that you see, you are not going to inherit anything more. You are just going to inherit this bronze shield, which is your father's, and that will be with you forever. Now, in her last lament, she is actually addressing women of Troy. Women, do you see? This is the shield that protected Hector's magnificent arm. He for sure was this shield's best protector, and now he is dead. Look, you can clearly see the imprint of his powerful hand on the grip. And here on the brass facing and the smooth rim, you can see how his beard has burnished it. Burnished means made smooth, as he held it up to his chin, and where the sweat pouring down from his forehead and temples in so many hot fought afternoons of battle has left its dark stain. Come now, for my women, see what you can find, some robe, if you can, or some flowers somewhere to dress this poor body for burial. Now she's calling all the women of Troy, asking them to look at the shield, see, and making to them the point that this shield was actually a magnificent shield, which was in Hector's arm. This was actually used a lot of time to protect him, but now it's dead, and she is just imagining that she could even see the imprint of Hector's fingers on that shield, and she is trying to show that, and she's trying to think about it, how it was smoothed, how it was smoothened. So she's trying to show all that to the women of Troy. And finally, she's asking, come now with my women, see what you can find, some robe if you can. If you can find some robe, old clothes, bring it. Some flowers somewhere to dress his poor body for burial, because we wanted to dress the poor Astinak's poor body for burial. It is little enough, child, we can give you in this time of disaster. This is the least thing that we can give you in this time of disaster. But what we can find, you shall have. Whatever we can find, you shall have. Anyone born mortal and living in this world who thinks himself prosperous and secure is a fool. That is a big line. That's actually the lesson. Yerbis is trying to give that lesson to all the people who are actually watching this. Anyone who is born mortal and living in this world, who thinks himself prosperous and secure. So if you are thinking that you are prosperous and secure at this moment in your life, then you are a fool, because anything can happen to anyone at any point of your life. That is the life message that Euripus wanted to give through Hecuba. Anyone born mortal and living in this world who thinks himself of prosperous and secure is a fool. And now we clearly know that in this COVID situation, all our life are actually, it's not in our hands, it's not secure. People who even thought that they are prosperous, all gone. So that's why Euripus wanted to indicate that particular life lesson through his tragedy. Anyone born mortal and living in this world who thinks himself prosperous and secure is a fool. Historical necessity, or whatever else you call, the force that governs our lives, what else it is, but a mad man dancing, leaping one way then the next without pattern or meaning. What is certain is that luck always runs out, and that no happy man ever stays happy or lucky for long. That's another important life lesson. What Euripides is trying to say to all the readers is that what is certain is that luck always runs out. Don't think that luck will be always with you. Luck always runs out, and that no happy man ever stays happy or lucky for long. No one can be happy for so long a time. Every no happy man ever stays happy. No, there will be. Life is always a bed of, it's not always a bed of roses. There will be thorns. There will be sadness. So no happy man ever stays happy or lucky for long. And she is getting all this, or she is understanding all these life lessons through her own life, because she know that how prosperous she was. She was a royal person. She was a queen. She had all the luxuries in her life, but within a moment, everything is gone. And that's the reason why she is understanding that she has learned, she has taken that life lesson, and that's why she is saying that to other people. What is certain is that luck always runs out, and that no happy man ever stays happy or lucky for long. I would say these two sentences, the first sentence that I told you, anyone born mortal and living in this world who thinks himself prosperous and secure is a fool. Nothing is in our hands. Nothing is in our hands. At, no, none of us are. We can't believe that we will be here forever, and we can't always think that our life will be always happy. There is happiness and sadness in our life. There will be fortunes and misfortunes in our life. So nothing is permanent. Everything is transient, or it can change. So that's what Euripides is actually trying to show through this one. So Euripides actually tells that misfortune can actually befall any person at any time, because luck always runs out. No happy man ever stays happy for long. So these words are surely designed to prompt the audience, especially the Athenian audience, to contemplate their own security as they continued the fight against Sparta in the Peloponnesian War. I told you when Euripides was actually writing this particular Women of Troy, still um, still the Athens were actually fighting against Sparta in Peloponnesian War. So these words has actually been designed, surely been designed to prompt the Athenian audience to contemplate their own security as they continued their fight against Sparta during the Peloponnesian War. So Euripides wanted to make the Athenian audience to think about their own actions. So the women give full expression to their grief, calling upon Hecuba to fulfill. That's what we actually see next. I will talk about that in a minute. So some things that you need to keep in mind is two life lessons, okay? And you guys can take these as life lessons as well. So as a modern audience, you can take this as life lessons for you. Now, chorus. Look, Hecuba, we found these things among the ruins. They will do prepare the body for burial. Now they have got something, some rags and clothes and everything, and I think they will do to prepare the body for burial. Hecuba, dear child, it's not after some victory at horse racing with fellows your own age or archery that I, your father's mother, award you these meager prizes. So we Trojans esteem such achievements and honor them as they deserve. These poor things are the only remnants of the legendary wealth of Troy, your inheritance, of which Helen, whom all the gods hate, has robbed you. And more than that, she has taken your life and utterly destroyed your family. Now Hecuba addresses the child and says to the child that, so it's not after some victory at horse racing with fellows of your own age. I'm not going to give you the things that I'm going to give you is not like a prize that you are getting after a horse race with racing with your own people of your own age, or not because you have won an archery. But these are meager prizes. We Trojans esteemed such achievements. We as Trojans, we used to achieve such kind of achievements and honor them as they deserve. But now these poor things are only remnants of the legendary wealth of Troy. Now I haven't got any of these things to give you as a prize. We haven't got any of these things. The rags and the clothes and these flowers are the remnants. These are the only things that you have got from the wealth of Troy, your inheritance, because everything has been plundered by whom? Of which Helen, whom all the gods hate, because of Helen, whom all the gods hate, has actually robbed you. Helen has actually robbed you, the city of Troy, because of Helen, whom all the gods hate, has actually robbed you. And more than that, she has taken your life. Helen, that lady, whom even the gods hate, has actually taken even your own life. It is all because of that Helen that you have lost your life and utterly destroyed your family. So here too, Hecuba is accusing Helen, and Hecuba says that all this has happened because of Helen and her lust. And she also makes the point clear that Helen is a person who has been hated by even gods, and that particular Helen has taken your life and has utterly destroyed your family. Chorus on page 55. Let your tears flow, my heart is breaking. Weep and sing for the dead child who was born to be king. Hecuba. This magnificent robe, the height of Trojan fashion. You should have worn it at your wedding to the most aristocratic princess of Asia. Now I can only use it as a shroud or winding sheet wrapped round your body. And for you, great shield, who protected Hector like a mother, and gave birth to victories beyond number, a garland of flowers. You are not dead, nor will ever be, though you lie with the dead in the earth, an honor greater than the Greeks can pay to the armor of the black-hearted politician Odysseus. Chorus. Howl, then howl. Now, if ever, tear the tears from your breast as the earth receives this child to rest. Mother, you must share our pain. Hecuba, howl. Chorus, lead our song for the dead. Hecuba, for grief. Chorus, who can forget these sufferings? Time will bring no relief. Hecuba, with these strips of linen, as if I could heal them. Let me bind up your wounds. Let me bind up your wounds. Bind up your wounds. The mere shadow of a doctor without the substance. My fingers are skillful but have no art to cure. I can't cure you now. Your father's hand must care for you now among the dead. Chorus, beat your temples, tear out your hair, let your nails rake your face like a bank of oars. Another simile here. Let your nails rake your face like a bank of oars. Hecuba, my daughters, listen, women of Troy. Chorus, we are still here. Say what you want to say. So here the chorus actually begins to sing in conversation with Hecuba, who continues to speak. Hecuba is actually draping Astyanax's body in a robe, and which she notes that he should have worn at his wedding. And she lays him upon Hector's field, which actually symbolizes the many battles he could have won and fought. And together, the chorus and Hecuba, they actually sing the dirge for the dead, a song of anger, mourning, and remembrance. They are really sad, and they have got the anger. Hecuba binds the rest of Astyanax's wound as she sings. So that's what is actually happening. So the whole scene of Astyanax's burial is actually incredibly sad. And again, the tragedy and pointlessness of his death is emphasized. Euripides wanted to emphasize the pointlessness of death. Hector's shield, which formerly defended Astyanax in his life, now cradles him in his death. Hector's valorous death, his courageous death, is shown to be at least partially meaningless at this moment, as the loss of his life couldn't even protect his child's life. So Hector's a powerful death, a valiant death, is considered as at least partially meaningless. Why? Because his death was not able to, or he was not actually able to protect his infants, his own child's life. Now Hecuba continues. So Hecuba is asking, "My daughters, listen, women of Troy." Then the chorus says that we are still here. We are here. Say what you want to say. Come on, you say what you want to say. So page 56, Hecuba. Everything I have done in my life has meant nothing. To the vindictive gods and Troy, of all cities, they have persecuted with a particular hatred. Everything I have done in my life has meant nothing. All that I have done in my life has meant nothing to the vindictive gods, to the revengeful gods. And Troy, of all cities, they have persecuted with a particular hatred. It looks like they have persecuted the city of Troy with particular hatred. All our sacrifices, all our sufferings have been quite worthless, a waste of time. All our sufferings and all our offerings that we have done in the temple have been quite worthless, a waste of time. So now, nihilistic view of Hecuba. As I told you, the meaninglessness of life, we could see the nihilistic view of Hecuba here. And look at the inclusive words and phrases, all our sufferings, all our sacrifices. So she's trying to include all the women of Troy in her own suffering. So inclusiveness, so inclusive language. So now she, at this point, Hecuba believes that gods have joined together to ruin her life. She believes Troy's destruction was the result of their own random whims, the gods or God's own decision. So all our sacrifices, all our offerings have been quite worthless, a waste of time. And yet, if the God had not decided to make the greatest suffer most and trample us all in the mud, what non-entities we would all have been. No one would no one would ever have heard of us. No songs would have been written in memory of our suffering. Nor would the poets 100 generations hence have taken us as their great theme. So take up the body and let us bring to its dishonored grave. We have given it all we can of the flowers and offerings customary for the dead. And what difference does it make to them if they are buried in luxury, loaded with gifts? None at all, I think. Funerals are for the living, an empty show to impress their friends. So now, as I told you before, Hecuba's nihilistic views, we could see everything that I've done for my and done in my life has meant nothing. So meaninglessness, so nihilistic views, and she believes that gods have joined together to ruin her life, and all that they have done to the city of Troy is because of the result is the result of their own random whims. And but at the same time, so she's trying to be positive and negative. There's a constant conflict between the hopelessness and the hopeful nature. So at one moment she's hopeless, at later she's trying to take it positively. To here too, she says that, and yet if the God had not decided to make us the greatest suffer, to make the greatest suffer most and trample us in all in the mud, what non-entities we would have been. So if the gods didn't decide to do this to us, what would we have been? No one would ever have heard of us. So only because of this sufferings that at least our stories have been told. No one would ever have heard of us if the gods didn't do this to us. No songs would have been written in memory for our suffering. See, if nothing happened and the gods protected us, then no one would have even known us. No one would have written songs in memory of our own sufferings, but that is not the situation now. Since God has shown all this, since God's hatred has destroyed us, and since the God has given us this suffering, at least we can believe that, at least we can be hopeful that our stories will be written as songs. Our sufferings would be written as songs. Nor would the poets 100 generations hence have taken us, as a great theme. So 100 generation. See, even now you are studying, we guys are studying this, the story of the sufferings of the women of Troy. All this happened only because the God has done. So look at the positive nature of Hecuba. Even at that moment when she lost all her hope, she is trying to take the positives out of it. And she believes that only because all these have happened to us, we are actually becoming famous. We know, otherwise, no one would have even heard of us. No one would have sung songs in memory of our sufferings, and no one, or not even the poets of 100 generations, would have taken notice of us as or taken the suffering of women of Troy as a great theme. But all that has happened now only because the gods are revengeful, and since the gods have done this, so trying to take the positives even in such kind of a situation. So take up the body and let us bring it to so let us bring it to its dishonored grave. So take up the body of Astyanax, let us bring it to its dishonored grave. We have given it all we can of the flowers and offerings customaries for the dead. We have done our best. Hecuba has spent so much of time doing all the best that she can to give a proper burial to Astyanax. So Hecuba has spent much of the play emphasizing how important it is for her to maintain tradition and even the familial and social duties, even in the face of great upheaval. And we could see that even at this point of time. Even she was suffering, even at the moment she is suffering, she is so keen on doing all the tradition and the familial and the social duties. So Hecuba reconciles herself as a person of hope at that moment, and she conducts herself in a very noble and dignified way. She is taking positively all things. And what difference does it make to them anyway if they are buried in luxury, loaded with gifts? Now she understands the meaning of death here now. And she says that what difference is it? Once we are dead, it's dead. What difference does it make to them if they are buried either in luxury or loaded with gifts? What's the point? There's nothing. There's nothing after death. There's no point in the way we bury people. None at all, I think. Funerals are for the living. Funerals are for the living people, an empty show to impress their friends. This is like an empty show to impress their friends. So she loses hope. Even the last bit of hope, Astyanax was the last hope for Hecuba, but with the death of Astyanax, with the burial of Astyanax, even that last bit of hope is gone. But at the same time, she is managing or she is maintaining her dignity and she is trying to do all her duties, familial duties and social duties as best as she can. And she is trying to maintain her positivity because she knows that she is the queen of Troy and she wanted to support the women of Troy as well. Now the body of Astyanax is removed. Chorus, weep and sing for your suffering mother who teased out the cloth of your life with such care, all torn and rumpled in death, and for the child, a hero's son, no family could be greater than his, born to be king. His terrible death men will remember with horror, but look, what are they doing? There are men with torches. Will they destroy even these ruins? On Ilium's surviving towers, in many hands, the bud of flame flowers. What more can they do to Troy? Now, the chorus, they are actually singing, and the chorus, weep and sing for your suffering mother. Singing together and asking everyone to weep and sing for the suffering mother who teased out the cloth of your life with such care, all torn and rumpled in death, and for the child, a hero's son, no family could be greater than his, born to be king. His terrible death men will remember with horror. His terrible death, Astyanax's terrible death, men will remember with horror. There are men now, what do they do? But look, now Hecuba changes their attention and they see someone there. But look, what are they doing? So chorus actually see a group of men. There are men with torches. So chorus could see men coming with torches of fire. Will they destroy even these ruins? So now the whole city of Troy is in ruins. What are they trying to do again? Are they going to destroy even these ruins? On Ilium's, on Troy's surviving towers, in many hands, the bud of flame flowers, the bud of flames flowering. What more can they do to Troy? What else can they do to Troy? So the chorus actually sees a group of men coming with torches of fire to destroy the city of Troy.